She was called the sex symbol of the 90s. Her face was on every screen, her image, the fantasy of millions, the most famous blonde running along the beach in a red swimsuit. Pamela Anderson, a name the whole world knows. For a long time, her name was associated with a string of sex scandals, flings and marriages, outrageous looks, and bold decisions. But years passed, and she finally spoke for herself. And it turned out that the image crafted by the press and fans was nothing like the real Pamela. So who is she really, and what's her true story? What horrors hide in her past? Why did the actress ditch makeup, plastic surgery, and even Hollywood? Welcome to Biographer. Today, what you never knew: pain, struggle, fame, and freedom. What's the other side of this real-life legend? And why is her story more important now than ever? Sometimes when you smile, it's not because you're happy, it's because you're strong. Behind the glamorous facade and fame lies a difficult childhood that shaped her character, toughened her spirit, and prepared her for the challenges she'd face as an adult. Pamela Denise Anderson was born on July 1st, 1967, in the small Canadian town of Ladysmith. Her childhood wasn't much different from others. She grew up in an average middle-class family. Her father, Barry, worked as a furnace repairman. Her mother, Carol, was a waitress. Pamela had a younger brother, Jerry. The family lived in a small cottage by the shore. She spent her childhood surrounded by the island's forests, making mud pies, chasing snakes near the scented purple lilacs and wild grapevines twisting around apple trees. Pamela loved being outdoors, playing with friends and feeling free. She often recalled running barefoot on the beach, swimming in the ocean, and feeling like part of nature. These moments shaped her love for animals and the environment, something that later became a huge part of her life and activism.
Very adventurous, kind of wonderful upbringing. My upbringing was in nature and at the beach. I was really, really fortunate.
Even as a kid, Pamela was a rebel. She'd walk into a store, grab whatever she wanted, and say her dad would pay for it. And every time Barry went to that store, they'd tell him he owed money again. Or she'd lock her brother in a barrel, call the police, and report him missing. In school, sports were her passion. She did gymnastics and played on the school volleyball team. One of her happiest memories was April Fool's Day. Every year, her dad would wake her up, carry her outside, and throw her into the water. Then they'd swim together in the freezing cold. It was their way of opening Canada's swimming season. Pamela's parents married young. Carol was 17, Barry was 19. The family struggled financially, and her childhood was far from carefree. Her father wasn't exactly a role model. Aside from drinking, he was a local troublemaker, playing poker, scamming people, pickpocketing, chasing adrenaline. In Ladysmith, he was known as a bad guy, and almost everyone in town had a story about him. Pamela and her brother often witnessed their father's violent outbursts. Barry would smash things, throw stuff around, even hit their mom. Family life was always chaotic, full of fights and drama. Violence was a constant. Even after having kids, Carol and Barry kept partying, arguing, and sometimes coming to blows. Pamela remembers one time when her dad pinned her mom's head against the stove, and she had to hit him in the face to protect her. "Those moments defined me," she'd say later. She always had to know when to grab her brother and get out of the house. The kids would wait on the beach until the fighting stopped, and when they came back, their parents would act like nothing happened, then disappear into the bedroom. Another traumatic childhood memory involved kittens.
I was told not to bring the kittens into the house, and I had my kittens in the house, and so he ended up putting them in a paper bag and running down to the beach with me, screaming after him, and he drowned the kittens.
How old were you?
Probably 6 or 7.
Several times, Carol fled with the kids and lived off welfare, but Barry always dragged her back. That's when the future actress first realized there's no such thing as a perfect childhood. To support 2 kids alone, Carol worked constantly and couldn't give them the attention they needed. And the woman who was supposed to care for Pamela and her brother, their babysitter, abused her. She humiliated and beat the kids, completely neglecting her duties. This went on for 4 years, from ages 6 to 10, leaving deep scars. Worse, the babysitter was the first person who, by Pamela's own words, sexually assaulted her. "My parents thought she was generous and kind, but really, it was all an act," Pamela wrote in her memoir. "Back then, I didn't understand. She threatened me, told me never to tell anyone, or else." Pamela tried to protect her little brother. One day, things got so bad that she tried to stab the babysitter with a pen to make it stop. She told the woman she wanted her dead, and the next day, the babysitter died in a crash. Pamela blamed herself and carried that guilt all through childhood. She tried to escape into her own little world, but it never worked. She kept thinking, "I hate all of this. I just want to run away." In her memoir, Love, Pamela, she confessed she was sexually assaulted multiple times. Once, at 12, she and a friend visited a boy they knew. His friend suggested they play backgammon, then gave her a back massage before sexually forcing himself on her. But the nightmare didn't end there. When she was 14, Pamela went through a similar experience again, this time at the hands of her boyfriend and his 6 friends. "I never told anyone," she wrote. "I just blocked it out. Of course, it was hard for me to trust people. I just wanted to disappear from this earth." This incident became one of the most traumatic experiences of her childhood, affecting her self-esteem and future relationships with men. For a long time, she carried feelings of shame and guilt, keeping these facts of her life hidden. In her memoirs, Pamela wrote that she felt tainted and dirty after what happened. She never told her mom. Her mother already had enough on her plate because of her father. The little girl didn't want to add to her pain. "I tried to forget. I tried, but it was like it was written on my forehead, like it said, 'I've had sex, but I didn't want anyone to know,'" the actress would later recall. These were her first impressions of sex, ones she would carry with her for many years to come. School in Anderson wasn't easy either. The girl was often bullied for her unconventional looks and modest background. Back then, she didn't have the curves. She was skinny, athletic, and painfully shy, insecure, full of self-loathing. Pam thought her classmates were beautiful, but never herself. After everything she'd been through, she was ashamed of her body, ashamed of everything that had happened to her. She couldn't confide in her mother. Mom already had enough on her plate, so she turned to animals. They became her only friends. As a child, Pamela made herself a promise. Until she had kids of her own, she would protect only animals. But the troubles didn't end in her teens. She always had a thing for bad boys, but that came with a price: abuse, humiliation, and disrespect. For example, her first high school boyfriend once kicked her out of a moving car. "He pushed me so hard with his foot that I had no choice but to open the door while the car was still moving, and I rolled right into a ditch. But I have to say, I nailed the landing like a gymnast, even at high speed," she wrote. Pamela also admitted that over the years, she began to notice, "Most of my boyfriends were bad, and each one was worse than the last." It took her years to realize she wasn't to blame for what happened to her as a child and teenager, and even longer, to start working through her trauma. Predators seek out people they can humiliate so badly, you'd be too ashamed to tell anyone. These things mark your entire life. You either bury it, or sooner or later, you have to face it, and that's exactly what I'm doing now. Over time, she began speaking openly about her experiences to help others who'd been through similar things. She also actively supports organizations that help victims of abuse. According to Pamela, everything she endured taught her to be strong and not care about others' opinions. "I'm not a victim, and I'm not some damsel in distress who needs saving," she said. "I've made my own choices in life. Yes, some decisions were made for me, but I always found a way back to myself. That's what shaped me into a strong woman and a strong mother." For young Pamela, creativity was an escape. She loved dancing and dreamed of a career in show business. The actress admitted that her mother always supported her and believed in her talent, and she did achieve her dream, just in a slightly unconventional way. "Life loves to play tricks on me, and I find ways to show myself." After graduation, Pamela decided to move to Vancouver. The mainland scared her, and her mom didn't support the decision. But the young woman followed her gut and stood her ground. It was in Vancouver that life first played an ironic joke on Pamela Anderson. The 21-year-old went to a Canadian football game with friends to watch the local BC Lions team. She was wearing a simple, tight-fitting Labatt's t-shirt, a popular Canadian beer brand. During the game, the broadcast operators put her face up on the stadium's big screen.
And I remember looking up going, "Oh, I look terrible." Before I realized it was me, I was already judging myself, thinking, I look terrible. And then I went, oh my gosh, that's me up there. And then my friends made me stand up and hold my t-shirt.
Then, she was invited down to pull a number from a barrel for a prize draw. That's when she first saw herself on the big screen. Looking up at the stands, Pamela thought, "Everyone looks like little toy figures." After that, she became known as the girl in the Labatt's t-shirt, and the brand reached out, offering her a deal to be the face of their ad campaign. Her photos were everywhere. Even the gym where Pamela worked at a tanning salon asked her to model for them. Just like that, completely by chance, Anderson became a local celebrity. And maybe that would have been the end of it. Until one day, her phone rang, and on the other end was Marilyn Grabowski. Playboy was looking for a girl for their October cover, and Pamela's photos had caught their eye. They invited her to Los Angeles.
You know, you're not an extension of the small town. You're not an extension of your parents. You're a brand new light given to this planet to do whatever you want with. In adventure, I wasn't afraid of it. I said, let's just go. Let's see where it takes me.
At the airport, she was met by a guy holding a bunny, a simple symbol that immediately struck her. But what stunned her even more was the Playboy mansion, like something out of a fairy tale. Pamela was terrified they'd say it was a mistake, that she wasn't right for this. But Marilyn just smiled and said, "Welcome." And so, a new chapter of her life began. The atmosphere of sex, forbidden substances, and alcohol, all of this was new to Pamela. Just like the giant posters of nude models, the stars in silk dresses, the stylish hairdos, the voluptuous curves, she herself felt like a simple girl in acid-washed jeans and a Nirvana t-shirt. She was simultaneously overwhelmed with excitement and shame, but it was Playboy that helped her rethink her body and herself. When I went to my first Playboy shoot, I thought, why am I so ashamed? I was tired of my past. It was a prison I needed to break free from. After the first camera click, it was like jumping off a bridge. For the first time, I felt liberated from something, she would later say.
And I really felt like I was falling off a cliff, and I just kind of let myself go and opened my eyes to the first flash, and bam, there I was, shooting, to the side, smiling, all this kind of stuff, and it was really a leap of faith, and I think that's where I kind of took my power back. I felt empowered by it.
Pamela felt attractive for the first time. She reclaimed her sexuality, and if at first she was flustered, soon she was practically running out the door naked. It was like she dived into another world, taken control of her femininity, and reclaimed her power. From then on, her hair became her prop, and often, her only piece of clothing. Playboy made me stronger. It saved my life. I always felt trapped and desperately wanted to break free. For me, it was a real breakthrough. I met so many artists, activists, and true gentlemen. It was a life full of fun and wild adventures, the actress would say in an interview. At first, Pamela thought it was a one-time thing and planned to go home after the shoot for the new issue. But it turned out Hugh Hefner saw her as a full-time Playboy model. She couldn't believe it. They offered her not just to stay in Los Angeles, but to build a career there. Anderson quickly became America's new sex symbol and appeared on the cover of Playboy a record-breaking 14 times. And so, the provincial girl from Canada tried to settle into this new reality. Her first companion was a Labrador named Star.
Got my new dog Star today. He's going to be so loved.
By the way, it was during her Playboy shoots that Pamela got breast implants, influenced by the local beauty standards. At the time, most models had breast augmentation, so the future actress didn't think twice about it. But this decision would later impact her life and how people perceived Anderson as a whole. At some point, the only thing interviewers and people in general cared about when it came to Pamela was her breasts.
Except for the blonde hair, the boobs, and the plastic shoes. I am real underneath it all.
At first, the actress joked that her career was in her chest, and she was just tagging along. But soon, the joke stopped being funny. Over and over, the only topic of conversation was her body, and it started to scare her. I thought, seriously? We're talking about this again? Eventually, I got used to it, she'd recall.
Jewelry.
Thank you.
So much has been written. She's looking at me
You
with
got your
disbelief.
hands up like this. He's like,
How
and
could
so
he
much
do
has
this?
been
I didn't mean to do that.
Who would you want to be and why?
I could be you.
Why would you want to be me? I'm curious as to why.
So I could torture you. Ask me about your implants.
The image of a not too smart, not too talented blonde whose only asset was her large breasts began forming around Pamela. It weighed on Anderson. She thought there should be a line you don't cross, but that line didn't exist. She hoped that one day she'd do something interesting for people, something more than just being the owner of big breasts, that her career would become more fascinating than her body. So Pam set herself a new goal. Now she would be an actress. And before we continue, drop a comment. What's the first role that comes to mind when you think of Pamela? We're really curious. People read tabloid gossip, but they portray me as a completely different person. I hope I can surprise everyone. Pamela was tired of being a sex symbol. She wanted something new, something that would make people respect her. She had no idea it would be much harder than it seemed. During this time, Playboy acted as her unofficial manager. They often got calls offering Pamela roles in various projects. Later, the actress admitted she never actually auditioned early in her career. Roles just seemed to land in her life out of nowhere. I just end up in situations that happen, she'd say. After moving to LA, Pamela was cast in a supporting role in the sitcom Home Improvement. For the first 2 seasons, she appeared as the sidekick to the main character, a home renovation show host. Her role involved handing him tools, which always ended in disaster. In 1997, already a global star, she made a guest appearance in 1 episode. She also landed small roles in popular shows like Charles in Charge, Married, With Children, and The Nanny. But the real breakthrough was The California Dream, the series Baywatch. Interestingly, the actress didn't agree right away. She stubbornly ignored the offer to audition for a long time because it was a long trip.
Which sounded very exotic and far away. I was like, that sounds really far, I can't go.
But the creators only saw Pam as CJ. Eventually, she decided to take the risk. and it was a very unusual experience for her. With no formal acting training, she winged everything. It didn't always work, but according to Anderson, the cast mostly had fun on set, running on the beach, drinking cocktails. It didn't feel like work in the traditional sense. I loved being on set. I spent endless days at the beach and got paid for it, so I never really thought about whether I looked good or bad, the actress would recall. And she kept showing her strong will. In the first season, the Baywatch producers insisted Pamela and her character, C.J. Parker, look natural and avoid makeup, but she wasn't about to give it up. She'd agree, then wake up at 3 a.m. to go to a makeup artist. By the time she got to set, it was a done deal. The show gradually became a massive hit, and Anderson's character, C.J. Parker, became the world's most famous lifeguard. Later, in an interview, Baywatch creator Douglas Schwartz admitted, "We knew Pamela was special. She had this magnetism." Every week, the show reached an audience of 1.1 billion people across 148 countries. Episodes were translated into 44 languages, and some countries only bought the episodes featuring Pamela.
Well, you don't realize how big the show is when you're doing it. I mean, I was on the beach, I was in the show, and then, they were sending me to Europe to do some promotion, and that's when you see all this craziness and people crashing into each other and people falling down backwards down escalators, and you just look around and say, who are they looking at? What's the big deal?
Though, as the actress admits, the show wasn't exactly deep. You could watch it on mute. The plot wasn't the point, she jokes. Finally, she was being seen as more than just a Playboy model and the owner of a famous pair of breasts. Finally, they began recognizing her as the star of a new hit show. But she never expected that her sexy Playboy persona, along with her equally provocative role in Baywatch, would have such a negative impact on her life. The show turned Pamela into a bona fide sex symbol, not just in the US, but across the globe. The show itself even earned a spot in the Guinness Book of World Records as the most watched TV series of its time. Pamela appeared in 5 seasons of Baywatch, which aired from 1992 to 1997. Alongside the show, Anderson continued posing for Playboy, walking fashion runways, and starring in music videos. She also took on roles in feature films during this period. In 1993, she landed one of the lead roles in the thriller Snapdragon, playing a mysterious woman named Felicity, who was linked to a series of murders of men during sexual encounters. The film revolved around police psychologist David, played by Stephen Bauer, who becomes obsessed with Felicity while assisting in the investigation. Gradually, his professional and personal boundaries blur, leading to dangerous consequences. The film mashed up elements of erotic thriller and psychological drama, exploring themes of memory, identity, and desire. Though Snapdragon didn't receive high praise from critics, Pamela Anderson's performance marked an important step in her acting career, proving she could handle dramatic roles. In 1994, she appeared in 2 projects, the TV movie Come Die With Me and the thriller Raw Justice, sharing top billing with David Keith and Robert Hayes. In Raw Justice, she played Sarah, a sex worker who becomes a key witness in a murder case. The role featured both emotional scenes and explicit moments, reinforcing the hypersexualized image that filmmakers found so easy to exploit. Later, Pamela would describe filming those intimate scenes as a negative experience, admitting she felt uncomfortable and even physically strained during production. Still, critics agreed that her performance was the film's only redeeming quality, despite its overall poor reception. The script, cinematography, direction, pretty much everything, got torn apart. But even then, Pamela was starting to chase her dreams, though it came with a cost. Most directors exploited her figure one way or another. Just look at how tight her outfits were. But Pamela was relieved to ditch the red swimsuit, as if people couldn't see her as anything beyond it. For a long time, she remained trapped in the image of C.J. Parker. Audiences conflated the character's shallowness with the actress herself.
Would you want to be a serious actress?
I am a serious actress.
During this time, the young woman jumped from one relationship to another. Guys came and went faster than new Baywatch episodes. She was desperate for love, but kept coming up empty, especially not among her actor boyfriends. I woke up at Mario's, got dressed, and went to Scott's. Yet Pamela genuinely believed each new guy could be the one. She loved being in love, open, generous, and full of hope. She wanted real romance and refused to settle. Her list of flings included Mario Van Peebles, Scott Baio, Dean Cain, Eric Nies, and David Charvet. As she later admitted, CJ's romantic side was actually based on her own.
I think I'm in love.
Oh no, CJ, come on, not again. You just met the guy.
I don't know, he brings out feelings in me I never knew I had.
You say that every time.
No, this time's different.
One of her more serious relationships was with Kelly Slater, whom she met on set. For a while, things were intense between them, but not for long. No matter how strong their chemistry, they kept breaking up, mostly because Kelly had more than one lady in his life. Reflecting on it, Pamela would say, "People aren't property, and sometimes they're better off without you." We're all responsible for the drama in our lives, some more than others. Maybe I'm just creative, or maybe I love to dramatize everything. Who knows? They met by chance in 1994. Pamela was co-owner of the club Sanctuary, and it was New Year's Eve. Fate intervened when the drummer of Mötley Crüe happened to be there too. He was the quintessential bad boy with a reputation to match. He walked up, grabbed me, and licked my face without saying a word. Pamela described their first encounter in an interview with Movie Line. After a night of dancing and partying, Anderson fell under Tommy Lee's spell. I thought he was cool, fun, a good guy. I gave him my number. But the meeting didn't leave a lasting impression. Even though Tommy kept calling her for days afterward, she stubbornly ignored him. Lee wasn't so easily deterred. When he found out Pamela was flying to Cancun, Mexico for a photo shoot, he followed without hesitation, then spent hours searching hotels to track her down. The whole thing annoyed Pamela, so she decided to meet him just to shut him down for good. "I thought, what's the worst that could happen?" she later recalled. So, on her last night in Cancun, she agreed to see him. Little did she know that meeting would spark a wild whirlwind romance, and her first experience with stimulants. The two fell so hard for each other, they practically became inseparable.
What was different about Tommy is that there was no secrets, there was no deception, there was no game playing. It was really just full-on, heart-to-heart, explosive kind of love.
She would later call their love story one of the most beautiful and insane, and then it got even crazier. Pamela and Tommy decided to get married just 4 days after meeting. 4 days later, they tied the knot on the beach. He wore only shorts. She was in a white bikini. They ditched traditional rings and got matching tattoos on their ring fingers. Years later, Anderson reflected, "We were madly in love and just so high on life." Of course, the press went nuts. Tabloids became obsessed with their personal lives. Headlines marveled at their impulsive decision, with many calling it a career-ending mistake. Shortly after the wedding, the newlyweds settled in Malibu. Rolling Stone called their marriage a fantastic life, where martinis and joints were a regular part of the morning routine. There was also a lot of sex, something the whole world would soon find out about. They fought constantly, and things often got physical. But they didn't care. The couple was happy, riding the high of their honeymoon phase. They had no idea what trials lay ahead. The first blow came when they lost their first baby. Pamela desperately wanted a baby.
Soon. We want to have babies soon.
Yes.
But she underestimated her strength. The grueling filming for a new project began, Anderson's first and essentially only major film role in Barbed Wire. During production, she had to perform most of her own stunts, in high heels no less. The corset she wore, cinching her waist down to 17 inches, 43 centimeters, made the work even harder. Pamela went through scenes involving crane jumps, fight sequences, motorcycle riding, and handling firearms. And despite her fear of heights, she agreed to be suspended mid-air using a harness.
Let's try this in high heels. He's been shooting a lot of guns.
But the media barely cared about her professionalism. Even then, at press conferences, reporters only asked about one thing, her personal life with Lee and when they'd have kids. It was during filming that she found out she was pregnant, but the intense workload played a cruel trick on her. She had to do all her own stunts and work 18-hour days. Pamela wanted a film career so badly, wanted to be a successful actress, that she refused to back down. It ended with a hospital visit and a miscarriage. On the way back from the hospital, the first major scandal between the Lee family and the press erupted. Paparazzi hounded them. Pamela snapped, flung open the car door, and slammed it into a photographer's vehicle. Lee jumped onto the car and kicked out a window with his foot. The couple was devastated. Naturally, this affected the film's production. The actress started showing up late to set, complaining of exhaustion, and often asked to leave early. To make things worse, the movie flopped. And soon, rumors began circulating that the couple had started using illegal substances. Not long after, another blow hit their relationship. As Pamela would later recall, their entire life was on tape. They filmed themselves constantly, finishing one tape and popping in another. They often ran around naked. It backfired horribly. During a home renovation, their personal data was stolen, all their videos, including intimate ones. The footage was edited together into a kind of adult film. Later, an anonymously mailed tape arrived at their home, a compilation of their private recordings. Reports suggest the crime was committed by their former employee, Rand Gauthier. The story goes that he was fired and later returned to the couple's home to retrieve his tools. In the mansion's driveway, Lee confronted him with a shotgun. demanding he leave the property. Furious at the threat, Gauthier planned a break-in at 3 a.m., stealing a safe from the couple's garage. Inside were Lee's firearms, Anderson's jewelry, and, unbeknownst to him, countless tapes of the Lees' private recordings. Later, the couple received a letter from Penthouse's Bob Guccione offering $5 million for their stolen tape. Pamela and Tommy refused. "We told him, go to hell, give us the tape back. No one should see this," she would later say. But it was the beginning of the end. Anderson recalled that neither of them knew how to handle the situation. The media descended on them like vultures. Even adult film actresses started signing copies of the tape as Pamela. Someone was making serious money off their private life. Suddenly, the footage was everywhere.
We saw it all over the tabloids and newspapers. The tape is out. It was such an invasion. We're angry and hurt and upset.
The most intimate parts of Anderson and Lee's life became public property. Everyone had an opinion. Paparazzi were relentless. The tape was being sold worldwide. So the couple decided to sue those responsible, with their lawyers' help.
The tape was stolen from Tommy Lee and myself. IAG is now selling that tape worldwide illegally without my or Tommy's consent. Further, we have not received one penny or signed an agreement permitting them to merchandise this tape.
Pamela and Tommy set one of the first major legal precedents for the right to privacy, but by then, society had already formed its opinion of Pamela Anderson. By the time she walked into the courtroom, she and Tommy had already been judged. The lawyers said, "You've been in Playboy, you have no right to privacy." And that shocked me, she recalled. She was questioned about their sex life, their preferences, the places they like to do it, even though the case was about theft. "They made me feel like a piece of meat, like I shouldn't even care because I'm just some whore," the actress added. It was like a violation. The hearings dragged on, the humiliation never stopped, and eventually, the actress gave up the fight. They didn't want the situation to affect their kids, especially since, by the time of the trial, Pam and Lee were expecting their second child. Their first, Brandon Thomas Lee, was about a year old. Pamela couldn't bear losing another baby or enduring the public pressure, so she surrendered. This ordeal wasn't just a blow to Pamela's personal life and mental state, it also sparked a fierce debate about media ethics, privacy, and consent. From that moment on, she became the butt of jokes on talk shows. The tape cemented her reputation as a sex symbol, just not in the way she wanted. Her name became synonymous with sex work. Everywhere, people dissected intimate details of her body and her sex life with her husband.
After that, just felt like that solidified kind of the cartoon image too. You become a caricature.
Pamela Anderson was treated as a caricature, not a human being. Her career was ruined. Everything fell apart. From then on, no one took her seriously as an actress. On December 29, 1997, Dylan Jagger Lee was born. And for a moment, it seemed like things might finally settle, but the tension in their marriage only grew. Paparazzi didn't give them a second of peace. Through both of Pamela's pregnancies, they jumped fences and dangled from trees. At one point, Tommy snapped and hit her. Later, she admitted there had been warning signs before that, but the actress wanted to believe their relationship was perfect. Tommy was intensely jealous. He'd show up uninvited to her sets and start screaming if something bothered him. Scripts could be rewritten last minute if producers found out he was coming, and scenes where Pamela kissed another actor sent him into a rage. During V.I.P. filming, he spent every day in her trailer, sometimes sneaking in unnoticed.
He would always know when to show up. He would look at the call sheets. He would see what scene she was in. He probably had access to the script, and he would show up in the scenes where there could be an opportunity for him to get pissed.
But that night became her point of no return. She packed up the kids, gathered their things, and left. He thought we'd get past it, but because of the children, I couldn't. "You just don't do something like that," she said later. Lee was arrested and charged with assault. Pamela had an injured wrist, bleeding, and a mark from a blow on her back. At that moment, she made up her mind. She was no longer willing to endure abuse herself, and she'd do whatever it took to keep her children safe. Tommy didn't contest the charges of domestic battery. The judge sentenced him to 6 months in jail. He was also ordered to attend counseling, complete 200 hours of community service, and pay $6,200 to a shelter for abused women. Standing outside the Malibu courthouse, Pamela told reporters, "I'm so proud of Tommy. I'm glad he took responsibility for this." Eventually, Lee was released on bail but was barred from calling or coming near his wife. Years later, in a Playboy interview, she admitted she still considered Tommy the love of her life. But their relationship had been too wild, too chaotic from the start to ever end well for either of them. Now, a new chapter began in Anderson's life. She was alone, without a career, and with 2 kids to raise.
I was a mother that saved me. You know, if I wasn't a mom, I don't think I would have survived.
Even during her time with Tommy, Pamela had fought hard to build a career and chase her dreams, but she had to balance motherhood and the fact that, to many, her public image was more of a caricature than a real person.
Plus, I kind of grew up a little bit at the Playboy mansion, so I mean, I was surrounded by, sexy lifestyle. So sometimes I would feel like I'd brought it upon myself when people talked badly to me. Even though that's a horrible thing to say, and obviously it's not true because you should always be respected. But at the time, I just learned how to kind of navigate it and not take it too personally and laugh it off.
While her sons were young, the actress drastically scaled back her professional work, which also affected her popularity. My most important job was taking care of my kids and being there for them. I never hired nannies. I wanted to be with them as much as possible, to share my attention and love, she'd say in interviews. She'd later reflect that the time when her kids were little was her favorite. It was everything I ever wanted, a family. Even with her controversial reputation and damaged career, Pamela always dreamed of big screen and theater roles. In interviews and public appearances, she presented herself as a well-read, cultured woman with deep knowledge of film, literature, and other fields. Interestingly, she'd later be invited to Criterion Closet, the legendary little room every cinephile dreams of entering. The tiny space is packed floor to ceiling with DVDs and Blu-rays of world cinema masterpieces. Each celebrity visit turns into a show, with guests filling a tote bag with their favorite films while talking about them. So, what did the actress pick? Anderson grabbed the collector's edition of Abbas Kiarostami's Coker trilogy, Where is the Friend's House, Life and Nothing More, Through the Olive Trees, Louis Malle's Elevator to the Gallows, and Federico Fellini's The Road.
You know, even when I was in Playboy, I was the one sitting on the ground at Samuel French, reading Tennessee Williams and Eugene O'Neill and Sam Shepard. I don't know why, but I just really loved films, and I loved theater and musical theater and movies.
Later, she picked up David Lean's melodrama Summertime, starring Katharine Hepburn, and said, "I'd love to remake this film." But back then, who she really was didn't matter much. After the flop Barbed Wire, she starred in an even bigger disaster, the thriller Naked Souls, where she acted alongside Brian Krause. A quick look at the plot and her nude scenes makes it clear what the filmmakers expected from Pamela. Here, she plays a young, stunningly beautiful artist, so irresistible that an aging psychopath agrees to a bizarre experiment, swapping consciousness with her husband, all for love. The movie tanked with a low rating and a shoestring budget. The entire marketing campaign revolved around Anderson, even though her screen time was minimal. Next came minor TV roles, King of the Hill and Stacked, where she played herself. In fact, Anderson playing herself as Anderson became a recurring theme in her career. The glamorous, slightly ditzy blonde, this image was milked dry by Hollywood. She's appeared as herself in over 13 projects. Some were pretty high profile. Scooby-Doo, 2002, Scary Movie 3, 2003, Borat, Cultural Learnings of America for Make Benefit Glorious Nation of Kazakhstan, 2006.
My name is Borat Sagdiev. I son of Bala Sagdiev and both of the rapists.
From 1998 to 2002, she starred in V.I.P., which also stood for Valerie Irons Protection, a moderately successful action comedy series. Anderson played Valerie Irons, a woman who accidentally saves a celebrity and then gets hired by a real bodyguard agency as a decoy while the actual pros handle the real work. The show featured tons of celebrity cameos, including Steve Austin, Jay Leno, Charles Barkley, Jerry Springer, and Alfonso Ribeiro. Later, Ubisoft adapted the series into video games, and in 1999, it was nominated for a Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Main Title Theme Music. In 2002, V.I.P. earned 3 Daytime Emmy nominations, winning 1. Another attempt at leading a show was Stacked, where she played, surprise, a ditzy blonde with an eye-popping bust. Nothing new here, a beautiful, not-too-bright heroine stumbling into absurd situations. The series aired worldwide, but lasted only 2 seasons, steadily losing ratings. It was one of her few chances to be taken seriously. Otherwise, luck wasn't on her side. She landed tiny roles in 8 Simple Rules and Less Than Perfect, both well-reviewed, high-rated shows. Movies fared even worse. In 2003, there was Baywatch, Hawaiian Wedding, a mediocre TV movie sequel to the iconic series. The plot revolved around an old enemy threatening the wedding of David Hasselhoff's character, reuniting the lifeguard crew. The film was panned, scoring a weak 4 out of 10 on IMDb. Desperate for a breakthrough, she tried something new. In 2004, Pamela released Starstruck, a novel about a teen girl chasing fame. It became a New York Times bestseller. The book was thinly veiled autobiographical fiction, drawing from her own life.
Kind of, yeah, but it's a combination of a bunch of different people, so it really is fiction. But people wanted me to write an autobiography, and I thought that's probably the worst way to get to know somebody, because you know they're really trying to manipulate an audience or trying to portray a certain thing, and I thought I could just tell a bunch of stuff, even be more revealing in this book.
Then came her second book, the sequel Starstruck, released in 2005. A thinly veiled take on her life with Tommy Lee. The plot mirrored the actress's own experiences almost uncannily. For instance, the book's heroine, Star, starred in a lifeguard-themed TV show and secretly got engaged to a rock star. Starred in a lifeguard-themed TV show and secretly got engaged to a rock star. But the sequel Starstruck received mixed and mostly lukewarm reviews from critics. Glamorous as a magazine in a beauty salon lobby. Easy to read, just as easy to forget, wrote Pop Matters, comparing the book to watching a reality show, fast-paced but lacking depth in character and plot development. Between 2003 and 2004, the actress also launched her first clothing and fragrance line, mostly focused on casual wear. Anderson described it as fun, sexy, and accessible, with beachy vibes meant for everyday wear. The collection debuted in Las Vegas but never really took off, ending up more as a creative experiment. Still, she managed to promote it publicly and even joked about her new venture.
Jeans, jewelry. This is my jewelry.
What, the ring?
Shoes, yeah. I do all non-leather shoes and handbags and stuff like that.
There was also a more practical reason behind it. With no steady or successful projects at the time, Anderson often needed money and did whatever she could to support herself and her kids. In 2005, she landed a role in Dean Hamilton's box office flop Blonde and Blonder, a comedy about, you guessed it, ditzy blondes. The film bombed, getting panned by critics and audiences alike. US box office earnings grossed just $42,000. By spring 2006, it was announced that Anderson would receive a star on Canada's Walk of Fame. Soon after, she played an invisible superheroine in the crude spoof superhero movie, a raunchy spoof of films like Spider-Man, Batman, and X-Men. It also was panned by critics, scoring a dismal 3 out of 10. The Rotten Tomatoes consensus called it not the worst parody out there, but still reliant on stale jokes and clumsy pop culture references. Critics noted that about 40% of the jokes fell flat, though the rest might get a laugh from genre fans. The film was even called dated, even by 2008 standards. Still, superhero movie did decent business, raking in $71 million worldwide. In 2009 came another flop, Costa Rican Summer, followed by yet another misfire, Hollywood and Wine, 2011, where Anderson played a tongue-in-cheek cameo of herself. Then came more experiments. In 2010, Pamela joined the 10th season of Dancing with the Stars, paired with pro dancer Damian Whitewood. They were eliminated in week 7. That same year, embracing the natural beauty trend, she had her breast implants, got 15 years ago, removed. In 2013, she tested her skills on the British reality show Dancing on Ice, Season 8, skating with American pro Matt Evers. Unfortunately, a strong start turned into a very public disaster. During her second performance, her top slipped, leaving her struggling to adjust the straps of her skimpy dress mid-routine. The judges weren't impressed and scored them low.
What happened
Yeah,
there?
my dress fell off.
Did it really? Yes. If it had happened a little earlier this evening, you'd have been guaranteed a place in the final.
Pamela kept hope alive in her love life too. Though she called Tommy Lee her one true love post-divorce, she kept searching for happiness in new relationships. Some were whirlwind romances, others were scandalous, but they all kept the public hooked. Shortly after her 1998 divorce, she got engaged to Swedish model Marcus Schenkenberg. Little was known about their relationship. Anderson kept it under wraps. Insiders claimed it was love at first sight. She reportedly told friends she melted in his arms and that the couple wouldn't leave their hotel room for 2 days. Things moved fast. Schenkenberg moved into her home. Pamela even starred with him in an iceberg underwear ad to boost his career. Co-workers said she called their relationship insanely sexual, and her Baywatch trailer allegedly shook from their escapades. Friends assumed the couple would have kids, but it never happened. Eventually, their fiery passion fizzled out and they split. Given Schenkenberg's reputation for dating high-profile women, Mariah Carey, Jessica Simpson, etc., some theorized Pamela was just a stepping stone for his rising fame. Soon after their breakup, she was spotted kissing ex-boyfriend John Peters. In 2001, she met musician Kid Rock. Bonding over parenthood, he also had a son. They grew close, even talking about having a child together. A year later, he proposed during a Nevada trip. Anderson later recalled, "It was wildly romantic. The ring, the sand, the stars, but we both loved drama." They broke up a year later, officially due to busy schedules. But insiders claimed Kid Rock was jealous of her past with Tommy Lee and disapproved of projects like Borat. Yet in 2006, they reunited and shockingly married within months. Their first ceremony was on a yacht in Saint-Tropez. Pamela ditched tradition, wearing a white bikini. They later made it official in Beverly Hills, then exchanged vows a third time in Nashville for friends who couldn't attend. "I finally feel free. I'm in love," she gushed at the time, but the happiness was short-lived. That November, she suffered a miscarriage at 9 weeks. 17 days later, she filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. Their passionate but rocky marriage lasted just 4 months. Later, she reflected, "He couldn't handle that I had a past. I tried to be the perfect wife, but he wanted to control everything." Once, after seeing her Borat scene, where her character flees the Kazakh reporter, Kid called her a slut and stormed off. "He smashed a camera and left me alone. I had to hitch a ride with strangers," she recalled. Anderson said Kid Rock was controlling and harsh while she was too free-spirited. The clash of personalities plus the pregnancy loss sealed their fate. After that, they spent a long time blaming each other. The actress accused her ex-husband of selfishness and lack of support after losing their child. Rock claimed Pamela had used him for publicity and called her appearance and brought a betrayal. In 2007, Pamela tried to mend things, but Kid Rock publicly mocked her in his song Half Your Age. They haven't spoken since, but the actress didn't dwell on it for long. Soon after, she was spotted in a relationship with film producer and professional poker player Rick Salomon. Their romance also went through 2 marriages, the first in 2007, which she annulled after just 2 months, and the second in 2014, which lasted only a year. According to Anderson, Salomon was obsessed with her fame and tried to monetize their relationship. "He didn't see me as a partner, just a PR opportunity. I got tired of the circus," she said. Later, she hinted at his struggles with substance abuse. In between marriages to Rick, the actress unexpectedly gave Tommy a second chance. Lee declared at the time, "It's amazing to be a family again." They stayed together for 2 years, 2008 to 2010, but happiness didn't last. Anderson later explained that old demons, Tommy's drinking and jealousy, ruined their chances. "We loved each other but couldn't be healthy together. Sometimes love isn't enough." After her second split from Salomon, she briefly dated French-Moroccan footballer Adil Rami, 18 years her junior. "It's not easy. We both have to work hard on trust and we're still earning it. We remind each other that our past doesn't define our future. We're not your typical athlete-actress couple. No cheating, no lies, no using each other. Marriage isn't as important to me as the romance we build day by day," Pamela said about their relationship. They dated for 2 years, but according to the actress, the breakup was due to the footballer's abusive behavior toward women. "Sometimes, he was extremely cruel. Last summer in LA, he grabbed me by the hair and yanked me because I left him at the hotel after a photo shoot with friends. He stalked me from LA to Saint-Tropez. It was the worst summer. He injured both my arms. I had to go to the hospital because the pain was unbearable." Rami doesn't respect women. His role in an anti-domestic violence campaign in France was just a cover, Pamela revealed in an interview. She also accused Rami of infidelity, claiming he led a double life. "It's hard to accept. Over 2 years of my life were a lie. I was deceived, made to believe we had this great love." The footballer denied everything, but his career took a hit. He was suspended from training and later dropped by his club, though officially for unrelated reasons. Years later, rumors linked her to John Peters, whom the actress had known since her Playboy days. Word was, Peters had proposed to her years earlier, but she'd refused. Decades later, they reportedly reunited and even secretly married in Malibu. Anderson dismissed the claims, calling Peters just a friend. "No offense, no marriage, no divorce, just a weird theatrical lunch," her statement quipped about the relationship. Either way, Peters left Anderson $10 million in his will.
I look back on my life and think maybe I would have done things differently, but I needed the life experience to teach me that I should have done things differently, you know? So there's really no regrets.
In recent years, Pamela hasn't acted much. In 2017, she had a minor role in Seth Gordon's comedy Baywatch. Interestingly, most characters shared names with the iconic 90s series, but the plot was entirely different. 2 lifeguards, Dwayne Johnson and Zac Efron, battle local drug lords. The script was cliched, if not outright silly. Something even fans admitted. Critics panned everything: the direction, plot, acting, and lowbrow humor fixated on male anatomy. Still, the film recouped its budget and turned a small profit. At least it gave Anderson a nostalgic comeback.
Is it just me, or is she...
In super slow motion.
Yeah.
That September, Alex Israel's SPF 18 premiered, co-starring Keanu Reeves. Only God knows how Reeves ended up in this sports melodrama, but the teen love triangle story set against LA beaches did Pamela no favors. The film earned just 2 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, both negative. In 2018, she appeared in the French flop undercover Playboy, an adaptation of the Japanese manga City Hunter about a womanizing detective, played by director Philippe Lachaud, known for Super Buddies and Super Fast, who teams up with his partner to recover a stolen aphrodisiac. Lost in vulgar humor, satire, and slapstick, Pamela played Jessica Fox, an American actress idolized by a side character, Skippy. Even in this cameo, echoes of her 90s sex symbol persona lingered. Some reviewers noted her nostalgic appeal, especially for French audiences familiar with her work. But overall, the film was mixed, IMDb 6.5, with her role dubbed a typical late career cameo. That same year, she executive produced the documentary The Game Changers, featuring athletes, scientists, and public figures, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Patrick Baboumian, Morgan Mitchell, Scott Jurek, advocating plant-based diets. The film's focus, vegan athletes, aligned with Pamela's lifelong choice. She gave up meat as a child after seeing her father butcher a deer he'd hunted, a moment that shaped her forever. In interviews, she admits that she considers her diet the key to staying youthful. "I think vegetarianism helps me stay young," Anderson stated. She also added in another interview, "Vegans are hotter in bed. The cholesterol in meat, eggs, and dairy causes artery clogging and does little else. It slows blood flow to all the body's organs, not just the heart. You can improve your overall health and boost your stamina in the bedroom by going vegan." The actress's typical diet is packed with vegetables, fruits, hummus, grains, pistachios, and bread. In fact, her life and work in recent years have been all about activism. She collaborates with organizations like PETA, 4Ocean, Sea Shepherd Conservation Society, IFAW, International Fund for Animal Welfare, Diem 25, International Anti-Poaching Foundation, and Cool Earth, knowing that celebrities have a better shot at reaching the public. In January 2015, she joined the board of directors of the Sea Shepherd Conservation Society. Over the last few years, Pamela has spoken out against force-feeding animals for foie gras production, seal hunting, and the capture of orcas and belugas for sale to aquariums. In 2016, Pamela Anderson was honored as PETA's Person of the Year. After becoming a star, Anderson decided that her sexuality and the image of a naive blonde were her strengths, not weaknesses, and she posed nude for a PETA ad. A photo of Pamela Anderson, with only her shoulders lightly dusted with snow, appeared on a massive billboard in New York's Times Square. The caption read, "Give Fur the Cold Shoulder." After that first campaign, Pamela began working with the organization on a regular basis. That's how the billboard "Start Fresh, Go Vegetarian" came to be, featuring Anderson dressed in lettuce leaves instead of a bikini. There was also a billboard referencing Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, recreating the famous shower scene with actress Janet Leigh. The black and white image had the tagline, "Meat and dairy farms consume a third of the world's freshwater. Save the planet. Try vegan." Speaking about Pamela's achievements, PETA founder Ingrid Newkirk said, "Her advocacy for animals helps open eyes, hearts, and minds. Animals in desperate need couldn't ask for a better advocate, and we're grateful she uses every opportunity to remind people animals are not food, clothing, entertainment, or test subjects." In 2020, she helped create a line of bags made from apple skin-based material and recycled plastic bottles. But animal rights aren't her only cause. Back in the 2000s, Makeup Art Cosmetics, MAC, chose her as an activist to help those with AIDS and HIV. As the brand's official face, Anderson raised significant funds in Toronto, Tokyo, Dublin, and Athens to support patients. She's also the face of the American Liver Foundation, which promotes liver health and disease prevention. However, some of her statements have sparked backlash. In 2017, she criticized the Me Too movement, saying, "You know what you're getting into when you go to a hotel room alone." When asked in 2023 whether that comment still held up, she replied, "I could have gone even further. My mom used to say, and I think this is the kind of feminism I was raised with, that it takes two to tango. Believe me, I've been in all kinds of situations where someone would say, 'Come here, sweetie, take a seat on the bed.' But my mom always warned me, if someone opens the door in a hotel robe and you're there for a meeting, don't go in. But if you do, own it." It's awful, but I lived with it. I always walked the line but kept my dignity and self-respect. Still, I get that many people don't have that or weren't taught it. Thank God for Me Too. It changed so much, and now people are way more careful and respectful. During the pandemic, Pamela returned to her hometown. The house she'd tried building for her parents 25 years earlier had been sitting empty for years, so out of boredom, she started construction. During that time, she met her fifth husband, a regular construction worker. They got married on Christmas.
But he's a good Canadian guy, normal. I just felt like maybe I need to try that.
But it didn't last long. They split soon after. Before that, there was a short-lived engagement to John Peters in 2020, which lasted a whopping 12 days. Later, Pamela joked about it. "I thought I was ready, but 12 days is my personal record." In 2021 to 2022, she was in a 10-month relationship with her bodyguard, Dan Hayhurst. In an interview with The Guardian, she said, "I don't believe in marriage anymore. I need peace, not another tabloid storyline." Since then, Pamela decided her happiness had to come from somewhere else. "I looked for love everywhere except within myself. Now I'm learning to be happy without a man," she says.
Are you all done falling in love?
I don't know. Right now, it's really good for me to be alone.
In 2022, the actress took a risk and stepped onto Broadway, despite her fears, doubts, and lack of professional singing or dancing skills. She performed in Chicago at the Ambassador Theater, playing Roxy Hart. A woman who dreamed of fame ended up in jail for murder, and still became a celebrity by cleverly using the media. Playing Roxy is a dream come true. If you're playing a Fosse heroine, there's no time to overthink. You can't dance, sing, and think all at once. But there's a sense of freedom in it, so for me, Roxy is a sweet escape, Pamela said. It was a challenging, iconic role previously played by actresses like Gwen Verdon, Anne Reinking, Brooke Shields, Ashley Simpson, and Melanie Griffith. So if nothing else, no one can accuse her of lacking courage. Anderson appeared on stage in a satin bodysuit and fishnet stockings, performing 3 solos, Funny Honey, Roxy, and Me and My Baby. Her sons had her back. Dylan and Brandon were there for her performance. The crowd went wild too, showering Pamela with enthusiastic applause.
I wanted to know what I was capable of. I need to know that I'm good at something, that I have some talent. It was frightening, but that's a good feeling. I mean, you want to push yourself out of your comfort zone.
Her performance made waves in the press and among critics. The Guardian noted that, despite her rough-around-the-edges vocals and dancing, Anderson brought self-deprecating humor and charisma that fit the role of Roxy Hart perfectly. The Telegraph pointed out that while her musical talent was still a work in progress, her acting was surprisingly strong, and she held the audience's attention. Newsweek reported that viewers were thrilled by her performance, praising her flawless looks and stage presence. And they were right. Fans didn't just cheer for her, they even took to Reddit to rave about it. In 2022, the actress faced a blast from the past. Hulu released Pam and Tommy, a series revisiting the scandal. More than 20 years later, Anderson found herself back in the spotlight because of it. The show was made without her consent, and she refused to watch it, just like she'd never watched that tape. But she couldn't escape the billboards promoting the series, which were everywhere. She called the creators jerks. "It's salt in the wound. You still owe me a public apology," she added. Her fight against stereotypes led to another media moment. She decided to go completely makeup-free in public. It was a stand against the relentless age-shaming women endure. The industry pressures actresses to do whatever it takes, even at the cost of their health, to stay attractive and employable. In 2023, the 56-year-old Anderson showed up at Paris Fashion Week barefaced, sparking debates across social media and news outlets.
I don't know, something just kind of came over me and I was dressing in these beautiful clothes and I thought, I don't want to compete with the clothes. I'm not trying to be the prettiest girl in the room. I feel like it's just freedom. It's like a relief.
Anderson insists ditching makeup was a personal choice. "I did this just for me, but now people keep coming up to me and saying, 'Thank you for doing this.' I really wanted to peel back all the layers and figure out who I actually am. Because my whole life I've played different roles and embodied different images. Now I just want to strip away all that residue from the past and see what's left, then slowly rebuild myself into who I want to be now, who I really am." In 2024, Anderson returned to the big screen with her first major project in years. She landed the lead role in Gia Coppola's drama The Last Showgirl, a story about the harsh realities women face in showbiz. Shelley, an aging Las Vegas showgirl who dedicated her life to razzle dazzle, a once glamorous, now struggling revue, suddenly sees her world crumble when the show gets axed. Forced to start over, she has to find her way back to herself. The film tackles self-delusion, living in the past, seeking comfort in questionable relationships, and trying to reconnect with an estranged adult daughter. Shelley only feels alive on stage, clinging to fading hope, terrified to let go of a dream that's no longer hers. The director admitted she never pictured Anderson as the lead until she saw a documentary about Pamela made by her sons. Then it clicked. Shelley is her and no one else. Coppola's script was rejected by Anderson's manager within an hour. But she didn't give up. She reached out to Pamela's son, Brandon. The story moved the Anderson family so much that the actress signed on immediately. The manager? Fired soon after. Ironically, Pamela's Hollywood reputation worked in her favor this time.
Well, you know, having nothing to live up to is kind of a good position to be in. You can surprise anybody, even with a full sentence, you're a genius. You know, that's kind of where I...
It's like she'd been waiting for this role her whole life, and according to audiences, she disappeared into it. Maybe the story and character hit close to home, maybe she understands this journey like no one else. Whatever the case, Pamela proved she could be compelling without just running in slow-mo on a beach. She's a real actress. The film was shot in just 18 days, and Pamela went out of her way to bond with her castmates, even cooking veggies for them.
Because I was cooking them vegetable soup, and we were cooking together, kind of finding ways to bond. We didn't have a lot of time shooting the movie. We shot the movie in 18 days. So we were creating, you know, almost like just teaching them how to, you know, we make a meal together, you get to know each other.
Critics responded well, both to the movie and her performance. She didn't just earn praise, she scored a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actress. On Rotten Tomatoes, 83% of the 221 critic reviews were positive, averaging 6.9 out of 10. She's radiant in The Last Dancer. Her range may be narrow, but her ability to be completely vulnerable on screen is rare and wonderful. She makes you see Shelley's wounded soul, and feel it too, wrote Manohla Dargis in the New York Times. At the time of writing, an upcoming comedy starring Liam Neeson, Pamela, Kevin Durant, and others is in the works. It's a reboot of the Naked Gun franchise, directed by Akiva Schaffer, who's no stranger to comedy. She's also confirmed for Werner Herzog's drama Vernon God Little, based on D.B.C. Pierre's satirical novel about America's justice system, media, and culture. The project's been in development since 2012, with little updates since. But if it happens, it could be a major milestone in her career. These days, she's back on home soil. The actress bought and restored her grandmother's house, moved her parents in to care for them in their old age, and tends to her garden, rose bushes, and 5 dogs. In her free time, she bonds with her mom over gardening. Years ago, she asked herself, "Who am I really?" She's still searching for the answer. "It drives me crazy," she admits. Then again, so did marrying a rock star. Coming back here after everything she endured as a kid felt surreal. "When something's off in my life, I go home. And by the time I leave, I know what to do," she says about her hometown. No matter where life and Hollywood takes Pamela Anderson next, here's hoping she's finally on the path she's dreamed of for so long.
Work, and you never know.
Do you feel like this has like reinvigorated you as far as acting goes?
I think I've just begun.
Yeah.
We'll keep working to bring you fresh, fascinating stories about your favorite stars. If you don't want to miss out, hit subscribe and that notification bell. This was Biographer signing off. See you soon. Bye-bye.